All right, today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, data visualization. Specifically, how you can take a bunch of raw numbers, like a spreadsheet, and turn them into a powerful visual story using a really elegant and surprisingly simple system.
So, let's start with the big question, right? You get handed a table full of data. It's just rows and columns of numbers. How on earth do you find the story in there? I mean, where are the patterns? Where are the insights? It's just numbers.
Okay, let's make this a little more concrete. This is a classic data set called MT cars. You've got different car models and stats for each. Stuff like miles per gallon, horsepower, weight, you get the idea. And right now, looking at this, it's just a wall of numbers. If I asked you to find the relationship between a car's weight and its fuel efficiency just by looking at this table, well, good luck. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
But what happens if we turn it into a picture? Bam! All of a sudden, a story just jumps right out of you. This chart was made from the exact same data we were just looking at, and you can instantly see that as a car's weight goes up, its fuel efficiency, the miles per gallon, tends to go down. That pattern becomes so obvious, so intuitive, and that is the power we're going to get into today.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about why we even bother to visualize data. Then, we'll get specific and look at the scatter plot. After that, we'll introduce the big idea, the grammar of graphics. We'll use it to build a plot piece by piece, and then we'll see how it lets us uncover even deeper stories.
All right, first things first. Why are we even doing this? Why not just stick with the tables?
Well, here's the thing. Visualization isn't just about making data look pretty for a presentation. It's one of the best tools we have for two things. First, for exploring the data ourselves to find those hidden insights, and second, for communicating what we found to other people. It's all about turning complexity into clarity.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we're going to focus on one of the most basic but powerful charts out there, the good old scatter plot.
So what exactly is a scatter plot? It's really simple. It's just a graph that uses a bunch of dots to show you the relationship between two different things. In our case, we're looking at a car's weight versus its fuel efficiency. Every single dot on the plot represents one car, and its position shows you its weight and its MPG. It's the perfect tool for seeing how one thing might influence another.
And now for the main event. This is the big idea. Instead of trying to memorize dozens of different types of charts, bar charts, line charts, pie charts, what if you could learn a system, a kind of language, or a grammar that would let you build any chart you can think of? Well, that's exactly what the grammar of graphics is.
You see, a popular tool called ggplot2 isn't just some software. It's actually built on top of this idea. The key word here is declaratively. You don't tell it, hey, draw me a bar chart. No. Instead, you just describe the different pieces of your plot, and it builds the visual for you. You're telling it what you want, not how to draw it.
And this whole grammar really boils down to three key parts. First, you need your data. For us, that's our MT cars table. Simple enough. Second, you define the aesthetics. Now, that's just a fancy word for how you map your data to visual things. What data goes on the x-axis? What data goes on the y-axis? What should the color of the dots represent? And third, you pick your geometrics, which are the actual shapes you use, like points for a scatter plot or bars for a bar chart.
Okay, theory's great, but let's actually see how this works. We're going to build our plots step by step, almost like we're writing a sentence.
So here's our first sentence. We start with our data, the MT cars table. Then we define our aesthetics. We're telling the system to map weight to the x-axis and miles per gallon to the y-axis. And finally, we choose our geometry. We say, use points. That's it. Those three ingredients are all we need to create the skeleton of our chart. And just like that, here's what we get. That simple sentence of code gives us this perfectly clean scatter plot. And right away, we can see that relationship we talked about. As you move to the right, meaning heavier cars, the dots tend to be lower, meaning lower fuel efficiency.
But, a good story needs a little more context, so we can add another layer. Think of it like adding more detail to our sentence. Here, we're just adding a labs layer to give our plot a title and make the axes labels way clearer.
And there you go. It's the same plot, but now anyone can look at it and know exactly what they're seeing. The best part? We didn't have to start over or redraw anything. We just added another layer of information on top. This is the magic of the system, building powerful graphics from these simple, stackable layers.
Okay, this is where things get really, really cool, because we can do more than just add labels. We can add whole new layers of meaning to uncover much deeper stories that are hiding in our data.
So a good data analyst is always asking, what's next? We see this relationship between weight and fuel efficiency, but is that the whole story? I wonder, does the number of engine cylinders have anything to do with it? How can we check that?
Now here's the amazing part. We don't need to make a whole new chart. We just tweak our aesthetic mapping a little bit. We go back to that original sentence and add one more instruction. Map the number of cylinders to the color of the points. It's such a tiny change, but it's about to tell a much bigger story.
And would you look at that difference? On the left, you've got our original plot. But on the right, with just that one extra instruction, make the color represent the number of cylinders, the whole thing is transformed. It's the same dots, the same data, but a whole new world of insight just appeared.
The story is now crystal clear. You can see three obvious groups. The four-cylinder cars are all clustered up in the top left. They're light and super fuel efficient. Then you have the eight-cylinder cars down in the bottom right. They're heavy and, well, not so efficient. And the six-cylinder cars, they're sitting right there in the middle. We didn't just find a trend, we found a whole narrative with three distinct characters.
So here's the big takeaway. The grammar of graphics gives us this incredibly flexible and powerful way of thinking. Once you understand these basic building blocks, data, aesthetics, and geometries, and how to stack them up like layers, you can go way beyond the standard canned charts and build custom visuals that answer your specific, complex questions.
And the best part is, this system scales up beautifully. You can go from our simple scatter plot and use the exact same principles to create unbelievably detailed visuals like this one. This thing is showing the relationships between multiple variables all at once. It looks super complex, but it's built from the very same simple ideas we just used.
So, by thinking about visualization, not as a list of charts to memorize, but as a language that you can speak, you can create visuals that are incredibly precise and powerful. It really does turn data analysis into an act of storytelling. Which leaves just one question. What stories are hiding in your data, just waiting for you to tell them?